Fairy Tail Chapter 509 review. Now, the only thing I didn't like about the chapter was the beginning. It shows Jalal taking on August and the Eurasian station. They're wiped out, and they're basically hyping up August without him showing much of his powers. We haven't seen much of August, and they keep holding back and holding back. And I'm like, why so many off-screen fights? I hate that. I can't stand that. Hiro Mashima needs some more action. He needs more substance. He needs more weight behind the reason for why we should be afraid of the Spring on 12. Because hype, just from seeing people on the floor, and then hype goes down when you see these guys getting destroyed. Now, obviously, I don't think Hiro Mashima is going to bullshit August. He's not going to have him lose in a bullshit way. I hope not. Because August, Aileen, and Rahkied, those guys are like the big hopes for this war to cause a challenge to Fairy Tail and to cause a challenge to Hiro Mashima himself with his writing. But I hope August lives up to the hype, because he's kind of lived up to it. Not really. Like, the only thing we've seen from August is an explosion. He attacks Mira, but nothing else. We don't know much about his powers, except he turns black, and that's about it. But I really wanted to see him fight Jalal, and it looks like Jalal wants to get up for round 2, but then he looked like he got knocked back down. At least that's what it looked like in this chapter. But after that's over, we got a pretty cool fight with Rahkied and Kagura. And I'm like, okay, yes, man, we've seen some Rahkied action, man, some hype behind these guys. Wanted to see some August, but I guess Hiro was deciding, okay, do I decide between August or Rahkied? I'm going to go Rahkied, because based on how this chapter is going. And this fight's pretty darn cool, because you have Rahkied using his weird power, his pleasure power, whatever. Oh, and apparently last week, I guess I thought about it, but I kind of like put that to the side. Apparently everyone who has had sex gets affected by his power. And I'm like, really? Is that really the power? I thought about it, but I was like, but Kana didn't get affected. So I immediately thought that's bullshit, because she's always the type of girl who always talks about going out with guys. Like in the past anime, when she would like make fun of Lucy for not having a boyfriend. And she's always getting drunk, playing with other guys back like in the Grand Magic games. And if she's a virgin, I'm like, okay, you were just talking a bunch of shit then. But I still think that's bull. I guess that's his power. Kind of stupid, but whatever. So he's using it on Kagura, but he's doing full concentration on her, and she ends up biting her tongue so she doesn't get affected. And you see blood coming. I was like, oof, that looked like it hurt. And you have a pretty cool fight scene with them. She freaking cuts the mountain in half, going all Zoro style. And the fight's going on, and I'm like, okay, she might have a chance if she doesn't get affected by his pleasure power. But then she like throws a sword at him, and he just stops it like nothing. And then he slices her with her hand. And I'm like, okay, damn, this guy's pretty powerful. Kagura is strong, but she's not like the strongest opponent this guy can face. And Rahkied, he showed some pretty impressive feats. And on top of that, we have a huge surprise here towards the end of this chapter. I'll talk about that right now. But Rahkied seems kind of jealous of Natsu. He really wanted to meet Natsu in this war, but because he talks about, oh, Zeref, he pretty much likes Natsu more than me, and that is unforgivable. So he's mad jelly here, man. He's really upset that Natsu is the favorite between Zeref, even though, because Natsu is his brother, and Zeref kind of, I guess, grew up with Natsu for a little before Natsu had died. So maybe he's attached to him more. Like, I guess Zeref would be attached to Natsu more because it was Zeref growing up with Natsu before he got cursed. And then I guess Rahkied came into the picture while Zeref had the Anxanum curse. And that's when he decided not to give any love anymore, so to say. Now, here's the thing that's weird about this. You have Rahkied fighting, and then it goes back to August. And he talks about Rahkied, and he says the son of the emperor did not receive any love, yada yada yada. And he says the only one who could defeat him is his mother. And then it goes back to Mavis. And I'm like, what? Okay, it doesn't shock me, but how did this happen? Because we know that Zeref kissed Mavis, and then she passes out, and she dies. Now, either Zeref is into some freaky shit, and he was into her when she was unconscious. I don't think he went that route. Zeref doesn't strike me as a person who would do that, because that's just disgusting. But the more likely scenario is that he might have gotten Mavis's DNA and use his DNA to create a weapon of sorts, to create his own other weapon like he did with Natsu. That's what I'm going with. I'm pretty sure he created Rahkied, and I don't think Mavis gave birth because it doesn't match up for the timeline. You know, Mavis, she disappeared for many years from the guild. She killed a bunch of people. She ran into Zeref again. They confessed their love, they kissed, and then Mavis died. And then he brings her back to the guild, and then they put her into Fairy Heart. Or Luminous Door. Wait. Yeah. Yeah, that's basically it. And that was the timeline. So it doesn't make any sense for Mavis to have given birth to Zeref's child. Unless he, like, raped her while she was unconscious and dead. That's some freaky shit. But I'm going with the fact that Rahkied was probably created. Now, what I like about this is that it leaves to some maybe open stories, a little more subplots, but it could also lead to some pretty cool fight scenes and maybe a good backstory. Because I would love it if they can somehow tie in this story to something that happened in the past of Fairy Tail, where we were wondering, oh, how did this happen? Why did this happen? And we could probably tie it in with this story, and I think, oh, that'd be some good foreshadowing. I think there's some good potential here. But when it comes to Fairy Tail, it's always good potential and bad substance. And I hope Hero can do something with this because it can give Mavis more character development, maybe Zeref, Natsu definitely. I can't wait for Natsu to see this guy, see how he matches up with Rahkied, see what he thinks about his nephew. And I just hope this leads to somewhere. I hope this is built up good, even because initially this does feel kind of rushed and thrown in there for another subplot, but I think if Hero can grow onto this is because Mavis is now the mother. I really hope that this is handled well, but come on, Hero. I'll give this chapter a 4 out of 5. Hope you guys liked the review. Fantart out.